point, let me remind you that God condemned to slavery the damned posterity of Canaan in the days of Joshua. God ordained by express statute Abraham's posterity that they should buy slaves, and decreed that those slaves would be a perpetual inheritance for their children. God recognized Abraham as the owner of slaves he had bought, commanding him to circumcise them. And Jesus ordained that whosoever dared to raise seditious doubts as to the benevolence of the institution of slavery should be cast out and scorned not only as a danger to the state, but destructive to the true nature of the gospel. God decreed by law that slavery be honored and obeyed, being his ordainment. Jesus himself established by law the relation of master and slave. The master must exercise without any weakness his authority over the slave. The master must not hesitate to punish him severely, whipping him with the number of lashes commensurate to the offense. All this, dear brethren, is made known to us by the recorded language of the Bible. Slavery is therefore a divine institution, ordered and sanctioned by God. Therefore, with all the authority invested in me by the church, I, Reverend Thornton Stringfellow of the state of Virginia, order you to honor slavery and not to discuss it on the basis of false moral premises.
Check me out now. When they say, and you believe, and accepted, some of you, that Christ, the Lord and Savior to the world, the way they depicted him in the churches that your grandmothers and grandfathers looked at, you went in church, opened the Bible, read about him, loved him, leaned on him, praised him. You didn't dare question his race. You know why? Because that wasn't important to you. Because you wasn't there for that. You was there to make a link with what and who you thought was the Son of God, who would be the way, the truth, and the light to get to the Father. So you didn't go in there with a racist attitude or a biased attitude and say, well, he's white, so I'm not going to believe in him. You hear me? And you didn't question it. But if Elijah Muhammad came along and said, no, God was black, black folk came out to say, what you mean? How you mean? When you mean? Where you mean? Who you mean? It never even crossed their mind how they were crucifying themselves by their questions. You hear me? This is the problem. We want to get verification of people who look like us, but we didn't dare ask for verification all the time we believed in a different image. What's wrong with that? What's sick with that? What's sick with every time a Nuwapian or Nubian or whatever you, a Negro, African American, whatever you want to call it, we got so many names. When we stand up and say something, why must we go under such attack? You follow?
Churches, like all kind of ethnic kind of churches, you know, white churches and black churches and Asian churches and Mexican churches and Texas churches, like all kind of different kind of ethnicities. You know, I know there's a big difference, you know. How many guys have been to a full gospel, all black church? Man, the worship is phenomenal. I mean, people are jumping up, dancing, getting crazy, praising the Lord, doing flips. You're like, man, that is cool. Now that is worship. Let me tell you something. If you go to an all white church, and they're singing, jumping up, dancing, getting crazy, praising the Lord, doing all kind of flips and stuff, that's a cult. Hey, keep that snake over there, buddy. Keep that snake on that side. You know what? God made it so different so we can worship him in different kind of ways, different kind of flavors, different kind of levels of praise. That's what I love about God. Let's take the verse, Jesus wept. That is the shortest verse in the Bible. Like a white pastor, he would preach it like this. Jesus wept. Now let's just talk about the verse. In the Greek, Jesus wept means Jesus wept. Let's break it down. Jesus is our Savior. Wept means he cried. Do you get it? That's pretty much it, right? Like a black pastor, he'd preach it like this. Hold up. There was a man. I said there was a man. And his name was Jesus. I said Jesus. And this man, he was sad. He went into the tomb. He looked around. He looked around. Turn to someone and say, he looked at you and said, he said, we moving on up to the east side, to when he likes to pop in the sky. That's pretty much it, right? I can perform a different kind of.
James Cone, you're one of the brilliant minds in this country, certainly on the issue of theology and faith and the black church. Let me just ask you whether or not you believe that fundamentally the black church has in fact become too political. Is the black church too political? Has the church gotten away from its primary mission?
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to be here just like everybody else. And I'm also pleased that you asked me a question about whether the black church is too political. Of course, it all depends on what you mean by politics and in what way you mean that. I think one of the things that we